Satnam Sovereign Woman. I'm Jyoti Rajit Kaur with veronica barragan.com. And today on Sovereign Woman TV, we're going to be learning all about what is the dark night of the soul, how exactly it happens, and how it is connected directly to grief, and also three ways that you yourself can actually move through this dark night of the soul and overcome it. As always, thank you so much for liking and subscribing to Sovereign Woman TV. By subscribing, you will be notified every time I go live, which is every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, with Tuesday spiritual sovereignty videos to heal body, mind, and spirit and remind you of who you truly are. And on Thursdays, with a follow up Kundalini Yoga meditation to help you integrate this newfound awareness. So, welcome and thank you. So, the dark night of the soul, I thought it was really appropriate for us to really get into this week, especially. There's a lot of heaviness in the world, whether you're watching this on live or watching this on the replay. But in essence, when the collective starts to feel this collective pain, and a lot of it has to do correlated with the emotion known as grief, starts to can take a toll on your psyche and on your energy levels. And so I thought it was really important for us to really address what the dark night of the soul is and how to overcome it. And I myself have a lot of experience with the dark night of the soul. I wish I could tell you it has only happened to me once, but sometimes the dark night of the soul becomes the dark nights of the soul. And sometimes it takes different phases of your life to experience them. And because I've experienced them, I can look back now and I can provide my own personal experience, as well as look at this neuroscientifically and spiritually, so we can really come up with a solution to help us through these moments of really dark nights of depression, of anxiety, and of lack of spiritual connection, of no faith. In essence, that's really what the dark night of the soul, if you really think about it, and if you listen to the words in itself, the vibration of that terminology, dark night of the soul, literally, there is no light, there is no hope, there is no faith. It is what can be described as what the even a meditator or the saint or the sage go through when they are in their meditation practice, dealing with the duality of separation, of not feeling connected to a higher power, to God herself, right? So these feelings are basically of not seeing anything to live for, an existential crisis that completely even takes your breath away. It is even difficult to breathe during these moments, and it doesn't have to be in the night. It could be constant throughout the day, throughout your entire existence. And so these are really what I deem as spiritual emergence. It's really the shaman. There's a healing. There's something that needs to be birthed, and through these very catastrophic, tragic events that we go through in life, this rebirth is begun in a very potent, very alchemical way. Because in essence, when do these dark nights of the soul happen? The dark nights of the soul sometimes happen when we lose somebody we love, especially when it happens tragically and you really were just not expecting it, right? Regardless if it was expected or not, I believe that a lot of people go through these moments of dark nights of the soul when they lose someone they love. It's really, if you think about it, it's a collapse of identity. And it's a collapse of identity, meaning that your roles, perhaps as a mother, as a daughter, as a son, whatever that looks like, changed because something happened in your life. And when that happens, our ego, which is really our programming, we can really look at the aspect of ourselves that is programmed, that is conditioned through our environment, through our upbringing, through this lifetime, and I believe many more lifetimes. And like I've talked before, ancestral karma, which you can check out the video I did completely on that. I'll put the link in the description below so you can check it out. But karma, in essence, is just our unconscious programming that basically runs our life. That's what Eckhart Tolle says, right? And so, in essence, all of that is creating this incredible pain, this incredible absence of connection, this feeling that you are not connected to source, which in essence, we're all here incarnated to learn this lesson, right? And to realize that we truly are connected to this divinity. And that in essence, suffering, we can become alchemical agents, and we can look at these dark nights of the soul as an opportunity to connect to actually look at a higher power for help, because we believe we can control it all. We believe we have all the control in the world. And then when something happens in our life very tragically, like the loss of identity, the loss of a death, all of a sudden we realize we are not controlling it all. And think about the events that have recently happened, right? That we recently we had Kobe Bryant that died with his daughter, and many other beautiful souls in that helicopter crash. That wasn't expected. He was on his way to a game, right? And so you can only imagine what his family that is left here has to deal with. And this is exactly what a dark night of the soul relates to. It's this loss of identity, this loss of meaning of life. It's an incredible almost opposition to God at times. I remember when I was going through my own personal dark nights of the soul, whether it was through the threatening of my one somebody that I loved, their life, or whether it was my own decisions that led me to jeopardizing my own life or my own sovereignty. Those nights of the soul are moments where you don't want to breathe. You don't, I mean, you can't find the willpower to even breathe. You're angry. You don't understand what life is. You could never understand how you even judge God and say, how could you, are you even fair, right? And then the sadder part about that, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about and how to overcome it, is that we start to blame ourselves. That takes us deeper into this dark aspect of the conscious, of subconscious mind that wants to basically force us into the dance of duality so that we can continue to suffer and so that we don't learn the lesson and awaken, right? It's a very deep process of catharsism. It's a deep process of letting it all go and trusting a higher power. It's a it's a knowing that you truly don't have the control in this world, and that through humility and through your interconnection, you can somehow maybe find that faith and hope, and you will find it. But it does take the three things that we're going to talk about here next. So the dark night of the soul can, as you can see, can easily be correlated to grief. There's many people that have had dark nights of the soul and don't even know why that has happened. And many of those, I believe, have a direct connection to Kundalini awakenings. And I did a whole video for you all on understanding what a Kundalini awakening is. I'll put the description below so you guys can check it out. But in essence, our energy is awakening through our meditation practices, because more and more of us are understanding the power of meditation. But they're awakening spontaneously because our root chakras, that's where all of the pain and trauma is stored, becomes basically our subconscious mind is ready to face it or ready to deal with it in this lifetime. So we start to have these basically experiences that awaken this energy, that forces us to face it, that many in the West would call a psychosis, but like I explained in my video, could in essence be the spiritual emergence, this wanting for a new life. And if you think about society, and this is my theory, is that we are more exposed to technology, right? Our frequency in this entire world is changing, right, through the technology we're using, right? And so our brains are completely changing. And because our brains are changing, our ego, in essence, which are the programs that run our life, they live in the frontal lobe of the brain. And practices like meditation actually start to move the programs and start to place these programs or reprogram the brain, so that in essence it starts to awaken this new awareness and this new essence of who you are, right? Technology is also shaping and changing the brain, and this is why it's so important to have a meditation practice that allows you to evolve in into this new frequency. So because our egos basically are coming to an end, and even Eckhart Tolle has talked about this, there's the age of Aquarius, the golden age, where in essence the programs are no longer going to work. In essence, we have to face ourselves and we have to do this inner work, which we all have the knowledge now. We have the information of these ancient teachings like Kundalini Yoga, which will allow us to really live at an optimal state, at sovereignty, at a way that you've never even imagined, by allowing yourself to let go and really surrendering to what is happening to your life moment by moment, right? And so there's specific methodologies, there's specific techniques. And I remember when I was going deeply through my own dark nights of the soul, that when Kundalini Yoga came into my life, I started to experience the healing. I started to experience the new perceptive realities. I started to instill in me the new programs in my brain that allowed me to not only be evolved into this new frequency of 2020 and beyond, but allowed me to heal from those sudden shocks, from those moments of my life where I found no connection to God because I couldn't believe what was happening in my life. Were the moments of my life when all I had was to pray and to meditate and to ask a higher purpose to help me because I could not figure it out. Those are the moments where next I'm going to be sharing with you these three specific ways that you can overcome this dark night of the soul. And if you want to remember these moments or these techniques, I want to I use I use a acronym that is known as PER, P-E-R, because as I started to more and more integrate and process and strengthen my daily sadhana, which is my daily Kundalini yoga practice, I started to become aware of the exact methodology and pathway to take to actually overcome post-traumatic stress disorder. And if you watch some of my other videos, you can kind of understand where my healing journey took me, going to the Peruvian jungle and using plant medicines to begin that journey, but then not until finding Kundalini yoga and the technology and actually practicing daily did the whole healing come to a full circle, that I was able to lift my frequency and really have a different perceptive awareness of the post traumatic stress, also of the dark nights of the soul that I was experiencing. So, PER, what does that even stand for? P-E-R. So, I'm going to start writing it up so you guys can kind of understand, so remember. But in essence, when I think about overcoming post-traumatic stress disorder or the dark night of the soul or grief, I think about first the first letter, and the first letter is P. And P stands for programming, which you can also break down to perception because it's the same thing. Now, the reason this is the same thing is because programming are basically your programs that have been instilled in you since you were a young child. I explained a little bit earlier that, in essence, since we're 0 to 7 years old, what happens is that our brains are in this a state known as theta state, and that is a state of hypnosis. So anything that is happening in our environment is literally becoming programmed in our subconscious mind. And remember, our subconscious mind is thousands of times stronger than your conscious mind. In essence, you really are being ruled by the programs. Even though your affirmations are saying something, your consciousness is what needs to be worked on. Your subconscious is what we need to work on. Your program, which can be correlated to perception as well. Why is that? Because a perception is your perceptive awareness of the situation. But if you think about it, and A Course in Miracles says this, is a shift in perception is a miracle. That's what a miracle is. It's a shift in perception of the situation. Because if you have a meditative mind, if you work in the neutral mind of the observer, you realize that nothing ever goes wrong in your life and you don't react to the good and the bad, the ebbs and the flows of life. You're in essence neutral and you're able to alchemize the low frequency emotions of negativity, of anger, of despair, of grief into higher wisdom. And you can only do that if you can move beyond the programming, the perception of what happened in that situation. And this, of course, everyone says easier said than done, but this is exactly how Kundalini Yoga meditations work. When I started to have my daily sadhana, my daily practice of Kundalini yoga meditations, because there's prescriptive meditations. Each of them do a specific thing. They heal grief, they heal physical elements, they heal emotional elements, they allow you to create more prosperity. It's all a science, right? So when I was specifically working on the meditations to help me overcome the PTSD, the dark nights of the soul, they were creating a new program. They were creating a new neural pathways of the brain. How they do that is because of the neuroplasticity of the brain that we've discovered, and not so long ago actually, that in essence you can reprogram, you can create new streets in the super information highway of your brain if you meditate by allowing new oxygen to, in essence, create these new streets to clear out the old streets that no longer work for you anymore, that don't take you home fastest. In essence, the streets of love that you're trying to create, of compassion, of forgiveness. Because in essence, even if you think about addiction, and this is really important, like there's phases of healing addiction. There's first there's the awareness that you even have an addiction. Many people don't even want to believe or accept that they have an addiction. So you even need that awareness first. And then you need to have the awareness to even want to heal it. And then you got to do the work to actually continue the work to actually, move the energy, the program to actually heal it. And that's how Kundalini Yoga works. So, in essence, in this process, in overcoming the dark night of the soul, we're trying to overcome the program by creating new programs, which are being instilled with our meditation practice, with the new streets we're doing, which is why we need to do it every day, not just when we feel like it or when things are going wrong or through the dark night of the soul. And let me tell you, when you're going through the dark night of the soul, that's the last time you want to be doing your meditation practice, but it is the most important time because remember, I just shared with you suffering and these dark nights of the soul are, in essence, a way for us to connect to this higher self, to God herself, because most of the time we think we're running our own life. We think we're in control. And then something, sooner or later comes along that humbles us and that reminds us of who we truly are and why we're truly here. And that's why sometimes these things happen, right? And sometimes we'll never know. And that's not even important sometimes. What's important is that we reprogram the mind and that we shift our perceptions so that we can start the healing process, so that we can start to come out of the dark and out of the soul with faith, right? It's easier to be in complete, I mean, it's much better for you to be in, hope than in complete despair. So there's ways you move up the emotional ladder to assist you in that. Okay. So then the second part of the overcoming the dark night of the soul that's really important stands for E. And E stands for energy. And what this really means is stabilizing your energy. Stabilize. I can spell. So what does that mean? Energy stabilization. When you are having a dark night of the soul, in essence, what's happening, if you think about what energy is, or if you think about what emotions are energy in motion. So when you're having a dark night of the soul, obviously, you can't control the emotions. You're in despair, you're in grief, you can't believe what's going on, you can't accept it, you can't surrender to it. So the goal or the intention here is to stabilize the energy, meaning through your Kundalini Yoga meditation practice, what you are doing is that you're becoming the observer. It takes work, of course, especially if you're going through the dark night of the soul and it's not easy and you may not be consistent the whole 11 minutes you're meditating or 3 minutes, but this is how holistic healing works. You get better and better day by day. And this is therapy that your mind needs, your heart needs, in essence, because you're stabilizing the emotions, which is the energy in motion. You're allowing yourself to move into a higher perceptive awareness of the situation, watching yourself, becoming the observer, because even in quantum physics, it says this is a science that we now know that says that energy does not change. It's always an influx and it doesn't change until the observer changes or whatever is observing, in essence, is observing the energy. So if you want to change the trauma, if you want to change the awareness of the situation, if you want to heal the energy, you got to connect to the observer, you got to connect to the watcher. And you can do that through your meditation practice and through the prescribed Kundalini Yoga meditations. You can actually do that so that you can start to actually change your entire perception of the situation and stabilize that energy, meaning stabilize the nervous system. That is exactly what Kundalini Yoga works for. It's not an exercise of a body, although it gives you an amazing body because it stabilizes your nervous system. Whatever amazing means to you, by the way. We all have different perceptions of what that is. I feel amazing in my body today, but many years ago, I didn't feel amazing in it. And, maybe I was even lighter at that point, right? So what this does is that what this means is that you're stabilizing the nervous system. And that's exactly what meditation does for you. And the prescriptive meditations through Kundalini Yoga specifically do that for you. They, in essence, help you stabilize the nervous system because they work scientifically to actually balance out the glandular system, even in your brain. the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, all of those are connected to the emotions in your body. So as you're doing your meditations, you're stabilizing the energy, which is emotions, energy and motion, which is allowing the space, the oxygen in the areas of your brain that are getting way too many thoughts to allow for a new perceptive reality and to allow really to find, even if you can find a glimpse of 1 second of inner peace during the dark nights of the soul, it's like the biggest gift you could ever receive. So energy stabilization is key, which is done through your meditation practice. And then the last part of this, coming through or moving through the dark night of the soul, stands for R. And the reason it stands for R is because it's radical, self love. So radical self love. So PER. Radical self love is so important during the dark night of the soul. One of the things, I think someone's told me this recently, that when you're a mother or father of somebody who's going through an addiction, right? One of the things that we tend to do is get into blame mode of saying that it is our fault that this is happening. And that, in essence, even if it was true and you asked 1,000 people and they all said yes, that energy in itself is not helping healing the situation. Because first and foremost, which I'll do a video about this in the future, you have to see that person as whole and complete. You have to have a strong nervous system to basically say and know that God doesn't do anything wrong and that this person is dealing with their karmic debt. And through that power, through that space, you can actually help them heal. You can be that energy to heal, but we'll do a whole separate video on that. But radical self love is not judging yourself if someone else is going through something, right? And more importantly, if it's you that is the one that maybe perpetrated the situation or caused the situation, that you yourself understand that by you hating yourself more, judging yourself more, and it's really difficult because our energy is not stable. We have this incorrect perceptive awareness of everything, and the programs are telling us that we did something wrong, right? It's not easy, but this is why we meditate, to create those new programmings, right? But the most important thing here is that the lesson is always radical self love. Any challenge you're going through is a lesson in love. Fear or love are the two really only emotions that exist in this dual universe. Of course, a miracle says that, and it's a duality, polarity, love or fear. Everything else stems from that. Okay, so either you love yourself or you basically hate yourself. And when you have a darkening of the soul, typically we're in self hatred. We're hating ourselves for the decisions we made. And God would not do that to us. As the mother, father she is, as this incredible creatress, right? We were born to remind ourselves and to know that nothing goes wrong and that we've never done anything wrong and that we are always forgiven. Now, this you might think might create a narcissist and someone that says, well, I'm always forgiven, I'm just going to keep doing. That doesn't work anymore, especially in the Aquarius age and beyond, because karma is karma. And I'll do a whole other video completely on that, but you can look at ancestral karma video below, because in essence, you are going to have to pay back those debts. 2 + 2 = 4 and this frequency. So there's eyes everywhere. The universe is always watching, which is why 2020 and beyond, authenticity, right? Frequency. So it doesn't have anything to do with narcissism. It has to do with the fact that sometimes things happen to us in our life, dark nights of the soul, so that not sometimes, all the time, so that we could rebirth into a higher frequency of who we are. And if we continue to self doubt, hate ourselves even more, and usually we are our biggest enemy, right? Then we're not going to learn the lesson and we're not going to be able to move through the dark night of the soul. This, in essence, if you don't have this radical self love, meaning you didn't learn the lesson, this will keep you stuck. Not only in this becomes your personality, right? And then it'll keep you stuck not only in this lifetime, but future lifetimes, because you still have not learned to love. You still have not learned that the lesson is connect to this higher power. You still have not learned that you're programmed and you need to reprogram yourself. And you still don't know that you are energy and that you need to stabilize your energy by becoming an alchemical agent through your inner work, through your meditation, through whatever it is that connects you to your soul and keeps you in the flow. So, in essence, to overcome these dark nights of the soul, these are the 3 aspects that I myself found in my Kundalini yoga practice, because it's not an exercise, it's a deeply ancient prescriptive practice that allows meditation practice that allows us to heal body, mind, and spirit, and allows us to create new neural pathways in the brain and work with our energy with and become alchemical agents, meaning we are able to raise the low frequency energies, emotions of lack of fear, of anger, into higher frequency emotions of higher awareness. Kundalini yoga is the yoga of awareness. So the higher awareness is it's forgiveness, compassion. It's acceptance and surrender, right? Whatever that looks like, because anything opposite to that is not going to help you in this lifetime or in any other future lifetimes. So to help you understand all of this, so what I'm going to be doing is next Thursday, you can join me here as well, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'll be sharing with you a specific meditation, Kundalini yoga meditation, that will allow you to move beyond grief, that will allow you to move beyond the unforgivable, that will allow you to truly use these three aspects that we need in order to move beyond the dark night of the soul. So join me again in a couple days here, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Thursday for next week's Kundalini Yoga Sovereign Woman TV episode. Thank you all so much for joining, and thank you all for the likes and for subscribing. And of course, thank you for sharing with your friends and family. Really appreciate it as we move into more healing into this world and more living in sovereignty, joyful, beautiful lives. Of course, I'll be posting the links below to the videos I mentioned, so make sure you check those out. And also pick up one of my complimentary Kundalini Yoga meditations. Will help you start on your path of sovereignty, of healing body, mind, spirit, and remembering who you truly are, sovereign woman. And Satori Wellness is not open for enrollment right now. This is my virtual wellness center where I teach Kundalini Yoga classes, meditation classes, holistic recipes, A Course in Miracles. It's really your space for transformation, for moving from lack of sovereignty to total sovereignty and healing. Not open for enrollment now, but it will be opening soon, so stay tuned for that. For now, definitely feel free to book a session. I do 1 hour tantric healing sessions that allow you to really work through your numerology, tantric numerology, but also you will leave with a prescriptive meditation that will allow you to heal body, mind, spirit, and move into this higher awareness of who you truly are. Thank you so much for joining. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Sadhana.